Hey guys, John V here from Phone Arena. Right now I'm taking a first look between the recently announced LG G2 and the Moto X. Both flagship devices from their respective companies. Moto X announced last week, and of course the G2 announced today here. So we're going to take a look at what we can between the two handsets. Let's first talk about the design between these two handsets. Kind of almost on the same page with one another, seeing that they're both made of plastic. It's a composite type material with the Moto X versus, it didn't specify if it's polycarbonate. I'm assuming it's polycarbonate here with the G2. But the finishes are different. Of course, you got a glossy pattern finish to the G2. Doesn't look like it's as premium compared to the last year's model, the regular LG Optimus G handset. The Moto X has a soft touch rubbery finish to it, that Kevlar pattern too. So it looks a lot cleaner, even though the white does a better job than the black version of the G2 at masking some of those smudges. As far as the feel and the hand designs, they both have a lot of curves around their edges to make them comfortable, but there's a more pronounced curve with the Moto X with the hump in it as the casing kind of bulges out towards the middle. So it's a lot more ergonomically correct when you hold it in the hand. Just feels more natural than the LG G2. But what's impressive though, of course, just their screen differences here. It's a 4.7-inch display on the Moto X, significantly smaller than the massive 5.2-inch display on the LG G2. Now, what's really impressive about the G2 is just the way they managed to minimize the bezel. So if we look closely here, you can see how the bezel has really been trimmed on the G2, which enables the handset to actually be very form-fitting, a lot more form-fitting than what you'd expect. They're both still really easily gripped in the hand, surprisingly, considering that the LG G2 is packed in that large display. And speaking of displays, there's again difference, 720p resolution on the Moto X versus 1080p full HD display on the LG G2. AMOLED on the Moto X and IPS LCD in the G2. Now, honestly, when you look from far away, you're not going to notice too much of those details differences, but upon a closer inspection, especially if you're in the web browser, it's zoomed out for you, you're definitely going to see a slight advantage to the LG G2 in that aspect. Colors, though, you get more natural ones on the Moto X, actually more natural colors on the G2 with its IPS LCD panel. You get a little bit more saturated tones with the Moto X. But aside from that, very similar qualities, good viewing angles on both. They don't seem to distort that much, but we just noticed that the Moto X display is a little bit brighter, so it might prove to be maybe better than the LG G2 in outdoor visibility. We can't really say here indoors, but then again, we typically find IPS LCDs to be really superior in that aspect. Aside from that, let's talk about how some of the two handsets differ too. In the back, 13 megapixel autofocus camera, 10 megapixel clear pixel camera on the Moto X. They have their advantages and of course their unique features, 1080p video recording. You have this crystal sapphire lens on the G2, and just the plays and the buttons are different, of course. We already talked about that in depth already. As far as this experience, again, it's just Android. Depends on what you like. If you like custom interface or something that's more stock, it's just going to be a personal preference at that point. We got to say that both handsets are really snappy with their respective processors. We really can't tell you if there's a noticeable difference. They're both very smooth and fast with different operations. And just the other cool things, just how they differ in terms of the software enhancements. LG has done it so that they have this knock-on feature where you can actually double tap the screen and you can actually instantly turn on the handset, and at the same time you could turn it off once it's on. Anywhere that has dead space, just double tap again. With the Moto X, it has that voiceless control, which is nice, so you get a little more hands-free experience. And when it comes to accessing the camera, they have their own implementation. For example, with the Moto X, you just twist your wrist a couple times, it automatically jumps to the camera app. Whereas on the LG G2, you just simply hold down the volume down button and it'll run the application itself. So that's a quick look between these two handsets, guys. If you want to learn more about them, check out our website, phonearena.com. It's John V. Thanks for watching.